our next speaker is Wisconsin Senate Health and Human Services Committee Chair Leah Vukmir. She is finishing her first term in the Wisconsin Senate and serves as the chair of the Health Committee and co-chair of the Joint Committee on Administrative Roles. She has focused on children's health issues throughout her professional career and was awarded Alex State Legislator in 2009. So if you'll help me welcome her.
Thank you very much. Two challenges when you're speaking in the afternoon. First, everybody has had lunch, and it was a very good lunch, so hopefully we'll keep you all awake. Number two, after going through an entire day of fantastic speakers, it's been amazing to hear the common themes among my colleagues from across the nation. And it's the challenge of taking what I've heard others say, put that special spin on it about what we're doing in Wisconsin that makes it different. But we seem to be all doing the same things. And that is a really exciting time for us in our nation. First and foremost, I want to thank GoPac for all that you do for this country by educating, by informing, and by electing Republicans to office. It's a very important role that you do. I'm proud to say that I'm from Wisconsin. I'm proud to say that I'm from the state that has our RNC chairman, Reince Priebus, that vice presidential nominee, Paul Ryan, and oh, and did I mention our governor, Scott Walker? 2 years ago when I spoke here for the charter member meeting, it was a very different time in the state of Wisconsin. I will never forget being transported from what I call the original Occupy movement, which was the occupation of our state capital, to beautiful Santa Barbara. And to go to the Ronald Reagan Ranch, walk through the ranch with many of you who are in this room. It was, to say it was inspiring is just does not fully describe what I felt after what we had gone through and what we were going through in our state capital. It was a very uncertain time for our state. Personally, we were dealing with death threats as legislators. We couldn't go back to our homes. We lived in Madison. If we did go back to our homes, and in my case, because Scott Walker is in my hometown, it was very heightened. I had to put a baseball cap on, tie my hair back in a ponytail, wear sunglasses, because if I didn't, I would be threatened. People would run after me, scream, yell, get in my face. Politically, it was also an uncertain time. My colleagues were facing recalls, one after another. I remember getting into the Senate after being in the House, having to be reelected every 2 years, and suddenly thinking, great, now 4 years, I get to relax. I spent the last 2 years running around our entire state helping out on one recall after another. Why? Because the left couldn't accept the outcome of the November 2010 election. Well, given all of that, and it seems far longer than 2 years ago, I am happy to tell you that the state of Wisconsin is stronger than ever because of the bold vision of our governor and our Republican majorities in both houses. 2 years ago, when you think about it, we had a $3.6 billion budget deficit. We had inherited a situation where over 150,000 people had lost their jobs from the previous 4 years. Our property taxes had gone up 27% in a decade, and our unemployment rate was at 7.8%. We made some really tough decisions. We took on the public employee unions. We balanced our budget without raising taxes. And because of our tough decisions, today, Wisconsin has a $342 million budget surplus that we will be giving back to the taxpayers. Property taxes on a medium valued home went down in each of the last 2 years, and our unemployment rate is down to 6.7%. Is there more to do? Definitely, but we are finally on ground that is solid and a place where we can build from. We have 5 pillars that the governor has put forth, and they're very simple. I've heard these themes from my colleagues around the room. Job creation through deregulation and eliminating red tape. Workforce development through job training, finding ways to bridge that skills gap. Education, expanding school choice to more children across the state in schools that are not succeeding. And that also means expanding school choice for our special education children. Infrastructural investment, it goes without saying, we have to invest in our infrastructure so that we can move the economy. And then government reform. In Wisconsin, what we have instituted is a Waste, Fraud, and Abuse Commission, which so far has found $456 million in savings. Simple reforms are getting us to a place of sure footing in Wisconsin. Right now, we're in the midst of our budget hearings. We've already passed a mining bill. Believe it or not, if you look at the state flag for the state of Wisconsin, we have a miner on that flag. But that miner has been collecting unemployment. Hasn't been working. We sit on an enormous reservoir of iron ore in the state of Wisconsin. But we could not get a mining bill passed. We did, and we will bring that miner back to work in the state of Wisconsin. We're working on judicial reform. If you recall, everything that we did in the state of Wisconsin over the course of the last 2 years, every law we passed was challenged by the left. Everything went to court. Everything hung in balance. It really had an enormous impact on the certainty of our state of Wisconsin. So what we have done is we are passing legislation that will correct that problem. Of course, that legislation will probably be challenged in the courts, but once we get through that process, we will have, again, legal certainty in the state of Wisconsin, because we've been plagued by the left on that over and over and over again. We said no to the creation of a state healthcare exchange, and I was with Senator Faber for a while until he got to the Medicaid expansion. The state of Wisconsin said no to expanding Medicaid under Obamacare, and I'm grateful for that. We continue to push free market health care reform because we have a rather robust insurance market in the state of Wisconsin. And so while we're waiting for the federal government to figure out what they're doing, we're going to forge ahead and continue to move on free market health care reform. Election reform. You heard BJ speak earlier about some of the problems that were happening in some of the districts during the election time. We have a whole slate of bills that are going to go through to fix some of those problems to make sure that our elections are fair. We're simplifying our tax code. The list goes on and on and on. I am so excited about the things that my colleagues and I are doing. Interestingly enough, something just came across the newsflash today. Washington Examiner gave some of our numbers for our unions. The numbers for our Wisconsin AFSCME, the American Federation of State, County, Municipal Employees, they're down by 1/3. Union membership is down 1/3 since we enacted our collective bargaining reforms. It's amazing. We gave individuals freedom. We gave them the freedom to make the decision about whether or not they wanted their hard-earned dollars to be put towards the union. And look at what has happened. Membership is down. The bottom line, and my message to all of you, first and foremost, thank you from the bottom of my heart for being there to support us during a very trying time. We knew when we were holed up in that state capitol that all eyes of the nation were on us. We knew we were following what was going on in Indiana, where their legislators also fled to Illinois. We joked a lot about that back and forth. But we knew we could not fail. And you were there to support us. People all across the nation reached out to us. And I am so heartened as I listen to the stories from my colleagues around the nation. The ripple effect of what we did in Wisconsin and the impact it is having and the hope that it is inspiring in people all across this nation. Second, while things look bleak at the federal level, states are where it's happening. 35 states said no to the creation of a healthcare exchange. 35 states. The federal government doesn't have a clue what to do. They're in a tailspin. That is a huge opportunity for us. It is a huge opportunity for us because now the full sticker shock, the sticker price of the Obamacare legislation is before the American people. and they're feeling it in their pocketbooks already. This gives us an opportunity to work with our congressional delegation to help us reform Obamacare. We lost the chance to repeal it in November, but we can reform it. Third, the election results in November certainly left us all feeling devastated with the wind taken out of our sails. But across the nation, and Wisconsin was one of those states, majorities in houses increased. Governors won re-elections. Governors sometimes won them twice, in the case of Governor Walker. It's very important when you think about the state of Wisconsin. When we went through this back and forth, BJ mentioned we lost the majority in the Senate for a short period of time. We got it back. But now, we have more than just a majority, because I believe it's more, you need more than just a majority. We need a conservative majority to continue the bold reforms of our governor and the members of our legislature. And elections have consequences, actions have consequences. When we only had a one-seat majority, we had one senator who did not vote for Act 10, and during that short period of time when we only had a one-seat majority, we couldn't get anything done. We couldn't get the mining bill done. A few other pieces of legislation we couldn't get done. Well, guess what happened? Just this last week, that senator, that Republican, who did not support our bold vision, already has a primary opponent. 20 months before the election, that sends a strong message about where we want to go as a state of Wisconsin. Wisconsin is proof that you can do anything you want to do if you have strength, conviction, you don't flinch, and you have bold visions. And if you stand up for what you believe in, you can change the hearts and minds of people. We've heard a lot of people talk today about, yes, Republicans always talk facts and figures, and our opponents always talk emotion. We can do that too. We miss that opportunity. But if we do connect with people. We connect with them on those kitchen table issues. That's where you connect with them. I don't believe conservatism is dead. I believe our message is stronger than ever. I believe we have to message our core beliefs in a far better way. And sometimes it takes us out of our comfort zone. When I ran for the state senate, I was taking on an incumbent Democrat to help us get the majority. I went in some of the most Democratic parts of our district. I didn't want to miss any opportunity, and I connected with those people on those kitchen table issues. We cannot forget that. So let's not lose faith, let's not lose hope. Sitting in this room today, listening to all the exciting stories from around the states that truly are the laboratories, that's where we're going to find our progress, that's where we're going to continue to move forward. It is through our actions, not necessarily our words, that we are going to succeed. Reince Priebus often says, if you elect people of their word and they follow through on their word by their actions, we will succeed. That's exactly what we did in Wisconsin. That's exactly what many of you are doing around the country. This past week, we lost a great leader in Margaret Thatcher, an amazing, inspirational woman, quite a role model to me and so many people. I adjourned in her honor in the state senate last week, and I was somewhat it was very disconcerting for me, because when I mentioned that I was adjourning in her honor, immediately my Democrat colleagues chuckled, chortled, and laughed. I just couldn't even believe it. The president of the Senate had to gavel them down so that I could speak to honor the legacy of a woman who, along with our President Ronald Reagan and Pope John Paul II, looked at the forces, the oppressive forces of communism, didn't flinch, didn't blink, didn't back down, and succeeded in changing history. I want to leave you with one quote by Margaret Thatcher because I think it fits the theme that we're talking about in terms of actions. Being powerful is like being a lady. If you have to say you are, you aren't. And I know there are men in the room, but let this be a lesson for all of us. The big theme here is, if you have to talk about being conservative, if you have to talk about being powerful, maybe you really aren't. But if you lead, your actions will show that you are powerful and you are conservative. And that's how we will win. Thank you very much.